I like to imagine, Jeff, that there was a conversation between Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard on like Wednesday, where Bruce Pritchard said to Vince something like, uh, "AEW decided to run a match on YouTube against us that we have no counter for. Where that they're running a match. They're running Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki on YouTube, and there is not a single wrestling fan in the world that would rather watch something that we can offer versus that match." And Vince said, "Hmm." And Bruce said, "How are we going to counter that?" And Vince said, "What the fuck is YouTube?"
Yeah, I read your tweet earlier.
Uh, but
I
I do think it's awesome that we got that match as a result of this against I mean, you and I, we have said, I and Nothing in a different way a couple of months ago, but we've always kind of been about wrestling without prejudice. Like, watch what you watch, enjoy what you want to enjoy. I just I just take great pleasure in the fact that this man decided to be petty about Dynamite running on a Saturday and trying to kind of off underwriting kind of programming the Rampage show before it. And so we as wrestling fans got the pleasure of watching a fantastic match between Minoru Suzuki and Bryan Danielson. The first time they've wrestled in 17 years because of it.
right. Yeah, that was fantastic, and it was like, okay, you want to run a half hour late, commercial free on a channel that 90% of your viewers aren't going to be able to find because they're not going to want to switch over. So here's what we're going to do: we're going to give a dream matchup, which ended up probably being the match of the year.
It's not the match of the year.
I think
You
it
you
was damn close.
you,
If
you
it
always
wasn't,
overhype these things in the moment, but that's okay.
I
Um,
think I think it was damn close. If it wasn't, I mean, that was the type of match that wrestlers watch to gain pointers. That was a fantastic match.
it was fantastic, but I wouldn't put it over like the Lucha Brothers against the Young Bucks or the draw between Danielson and Omega or um, you know Osprey versus Shingo. I just wouldn't. So um,
I
YouTube
would
match of
put
the
it
year. It's
ahead.
probably YouTube match.
I would put it ahead of Omega versus Danielson.
No.
I would.
Okay.
As far as Lucha Brothers and Bucks, okay, so singles match of the year.
Well, we'll talk about the end of the year once we'll figure all that stuff out.
Well, yeah, once everything goes through and we got everything all under control. What is going on in London?
Who cares? Um, we're not talking about the little. We can talk about a different fish, but we're not going to talk about a dolphin.
I didn't watch that match, but actually, I did watch the YouTube one or the one
Bobby
on
Fishing.
Rampage.
Yeah,
against,
I have no idea what's going on with Bobby Fish now because, like, we had talked about last week, and I thought it was a one-off with Sammy because he was signed to MLW. But if he signed to MLW, then, you know, first, he goes last week. He opens Dynamite, or not opens Dynamite, but he's a title match on Dynamite, right?
Right.
This week he's got the opening or the middle match on the YouTube pre-show for Rampage, and then he's in the main event of last week's Dynamite. It's just like, well, what in the world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I figured he would be a one and done, moving off to Darker Elevation. I know he was signed to AEW. He's just part of the Opera Cup or whatever for MLW. It's not a contract with them.
Okay.
But he is signed to AEW. But I figured he'd be a one-off. I didn't realize he was going to be on every episode.
He has been so far. It does seem a little odd, but I mean, and I do kind of feel like he's going to end up on Dark and Elevation. I don't
Right.
feel like he's a guy that has the cachet to be on the main show all the time, right? But
even if they call him infamous.
but he but first of all, I thought it was great to hear the Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly / Red Dragon theme song in the main event of Dynamite. that was pretty fantastic. I know you
Oh,
have, I know you
Les.
haven't seen I know you haven't seen it yet, but that I'll give you a reason. You know, um, and I think it's and I think it's great to have him as around as a hand, and I could see him like mixing it up here and there on Dynamite, like or Rampage, but I really don't see him being like a spotlight player. He's
Right.
what is he like
It's
41, 42 years old or
He's
something, and
44.
is he 44? Okay, and
Yeah.
he's never like really been other than his time in UE, he's never really been like a featured player in any organization.
Well, I mean, and he's never been a singles wrestler except for his run with the Ring of Honor TV title.
Right.
Otherwise, he's always been a tag team wrestler, which is fine. I mean, he has his place. I just don't see his place as being in every single, on Dynamite and Raw. Hell, even MJF has MJF been on? Was MJF on last night?
Yeah, MJF had
Okay.
I don't want to, but yeah, MJF was on Dynamite.
But and like I'm saying, that's what I'm saying is he wasn't on Rampage, he wasn't on Dynamite the week before, he wasn't on Rampage the week before that. So if MJF isn't making TV every single week or every single episode, how is Bobby Fish going to maintain that?
Has MJF even been on one episode of Rampage so far? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has been either on Rampage.
No.
And he wasn't on the anniversary show for Dynamite.
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Well, we did not see his face, but he was on the show.
Oh, we're not counting that.
Okay.
We're not counting that. I mean, and how about I did watch 2 matches from last night. Malachi Black and Dante Martin was fantastic. That might have been, in my opinion, that was Malachi Black's best match to date. And Dante Martin looked like a superstar again. And then I watched the Frogs.
How could you not call the match where you beat Cody in like 3.5 minutes? Malachi Black's, well, it's at least his best performance, right? I mean, where like he has like a dominant performer is killing Cody Rhodes.
Well, yeah, I mean that was a great performance, but not a great match. It was a squash match. I think this one was his best match. I thought his one against Lee Johnson was until this.
It's tough because there's also like a spot in that match where Malachi gets lost. If he hadn't found himself like right at the last second, Dante could have been seriously hurt.
True. Yeah, there was that botch, but it still doesn't take away from the match itself. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. And then
that's like when people like tell me like I mean, there was a 2 great matches at WrestleMania 34, I think it was, right, where it was Shane McMahon opened up against AJ Styles. I think it was 34, and they had that great match. But then later on, there was Seth Rollins versus Triple H, which I thought also was a great match. Right. But some people say it's a perfect match, even though 5 minutes in, Seth has to tell Triple H, it's my other leg that's hurt. Right. So I mean, things like that do take away from a match. So.
Well, yeah, and I agree, and you definitely can't call it a perfect match. And I'm just I've had to unfollow so many people on Twitter lately because I'm just so sick and tired of the WWE. When you look at the fandoms out there, the negative ones are the WWE fans. The AEW fans are just loving life. Because like Meltzer tweeted something on Friday night because SmackDown was really the first half hour, the stands looked empty. And that's because they were in California. There was traffic jams and stuff. The announcers even mentioned it. And Meltzer goes on and tweets that he can confirm that the traffic is horrible. And everybody's on there saying how much he's dogging AEW or how much because it's not AEW, or he's making excuses for AEW having low attendance. And How he never gives WWE any love anymore, and how he just all he does is love other wrestling promotions. And it was just hundreds of tweets telling him how much he sucks because he's an AEW mark and not. And the tweet itself was about SmackDown.
Where did that
It's
even
just
come
mind-boggling.
from? How do we transition to that?
How much I hate how negative WWE fans are.
Okay. Yeah.
Like their product is the greatest, and anybody that says different is a piece of shit, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. My only point with that was simply like, I mean, you and I have talked before, like there are spots in matches where a boss can make things like better because it makes it more realistic. But
right.
here was a spot where I thought, because he missed it, not only if he had not realized at the last second, oh, I'm in the wrong spot, he could have, the Dante could have gotten really hurt. But also the fact that it did kind of, expose the business a little bit by him having to do that. Because most people would not like right into the path of his.
The best botch of all time was a fake botch. Shawn Michaels versus Mankind from that title match they had.
Yeah.
Still because Shawn notoriously would yell at people in the middle of the match if they screwed something up. So they planned a spot where Mankind would look like he screwed something up so Shawn could yell at him.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever saw that or heard about that.
I don't remember that. No.
Anyway,
speaking of yelling at the match, isn't it kind of odd that I think it started with Juice. It's the first one I ever heard do it, but now it seems like a lot of matches you hear people hear someone yell so the person's either about to hit with a punch or hit with a clothesline or something or a kick. Isn't that kind of weird that they're doing that now?
I guess I haven't noticed it. Or
you haven't noticed it? You haven't noticed because I remember even in the Shingo match against Zach yelled Shingo before he
no, I guess I haven't noticed it.
Okay, I think I just feel like it's kind of bizarre because when Juice was doing it, he would do his pumps, and then when he went for the left hand of God, he would yell on his knee, kind of this one has your name on it, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I've never noticed that. I'll have to start looking for it, but I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't not see it. And Suzuki's match against Danielson was his second great match in 5 days, right? Because he had that great match against. Did you watch the match against Joey Janela?
Against who?
From what Joey Janela from last Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he made Janela look like a star to me in that match too. So
right.
Right. Suzuki is just so good when he's not doing his out of the ring, chair bullshit in New Japan. So.
Yeah, I felt like he's just been fantastic. And the last 4 matches he had that one against Mox, he had the one against Jonathan Gresham, then Janela, and now Bryan Danielson. I can't wait to see what he does against Nick Gage. That's another one that I'm looking forward to. So Suzuki has been just fantastic lately and keeps delivering. And what is he, 56 or something like that? 52? Somewhere he's in his 50s. I thought it was about mid 50s, but he's been fantastic
I'm not exactly
lately
sure.
too.
Yeah, his tour, everything he's done in the U.S. so far is
great. Right. Yeah, and the other match that I saw last night was the frog match. The 2 match.
Yeah.
That was a fun match, but when they unveiled themselves, I felt like they unveiled themselves as FTR a little too early. I thought it was
I thought it was pretty obvious for FTR when they first came out. I thought it was great that Punk was even calling it out. Punk's like, those guys are obviously FTR to him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I did like that part where they were claiming it right from the start, but I wish they would have held off on the reveal till later, right before the pinfall or something, instead of midway through the match. I mean, we all knew they were FTR. We all knew they were FTR. It's weird though. What's the relationship with Andrade and FTR?
Oh, you didn't see the aftermath? You saw the match?
I saw the match, and then because I started watching it at 11:30 last night, so I saw the match, and then I just went to sleep.
Yeah, shortly after the match, I think it's Tony. Yeah, Tony goes. It's either like right after the match, or like maybe it's after the next match or something. Tony's interviewing them backstage, and about to be the new triple A tag team champions,
Right.
and Andrade's with them, and MJF's like congratulated them. It's like yeah, some gold for the inner circle, or for some gold for the pinnacle and stuff, right? And then like MJF talks to Andrade, he's like, and on and he says he's like, it's good. I'm glad they did a great job for you. I'll take my payment now. And Andrade's like, do you want check or cash? He goes, I'll take both.
All right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense that he'd be rented out his players.
Yeah.
But I Rampage, I saw the whole thing of last night. Last night was rough because I had, hockey last night, football this morning, and then a Saturday night wrestling show. It was just too much to fit into one thing. I had to pick and choose. Where I'll get the instant, like, for me, knowing the outcome of a wrestling match isn't as important as knowing the outcome of a sporting event.
Sure.
So when I get a chance to watch my teams live, I watch my teams live.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But that was not the only thing MJF did on the show last night. So so that wasn't the segment I was talking about, or the other segment is good too.
I'll probably watch it later today. Because now my team.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say my team's playing right now, so I got really nothing to do the rest of the day.
Yeah, they did a great job making, MJF had talked about 2 weeks ago, I think it was on Dynamite, right, where he was talking about the 4 young pillars, right?
Right.
But there's really 5, right? There's really 5, and they did a great job making, really making all 5 of them seem very important on last night's show.
When you said 5, I was like, well, who's that? Oh, Britt Baker.
I was talking about Hangman Page, actually, but
he isn't, when he's talking about the pillars, he's talking about future pillars. I would essentially say Hangman's a pillar right now.
Well, I would say that Britt is one right now too.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, as far as the 4 pillars of the future, he's got that right. But you're right, Hangman. I would say Hangman is right now, and so is Britt, alongside Kenny.
Hangman has a promo on, I think it's right before the main event. I'm pretty sure this is Hangman right before the main event. But Hangman's got a promo where, if anybody was feeling any lag from him being off camera for 2 months to coming in, or anybody is worried about his stop start kind of thing that's been going on. You and I didn't care because you and I are Japan fans, and we know that sometimes these stories take 2 years to tell, right?
Yeah, wasn't the Naito story like 4 years?
Yeah, exactly. But Hangman does a great promo, kind of encapsulating everything that's happened and putting it all into perspective. And it just a great, probably his best promo ever.
Chronicling from when he started saying he was going to be the first ever champion, and then
leaving
the elite.
He absolutely talks about that. He absolutely talks about that and how he disappointed himself and his fans by doing that. So.
And he, when he left the elite, but the elite wouldn't let him leave, and just the continuation. I hope he brought up his little feud with the Bucks and how they were calling him a jobber.
Not exactly. He just said that he basically coming into AEW with a group of friends, and they wanted to change the business, but he felt like the business changed them. And how he lost one group of friends and he found another group of friends. So.
Oh, good. So he's reunited with the Dark Order.
Not officially.
Not officially, but they're friends again.
Yeah, they're friends again, and I mean they weren't together on screen, but the Dark Order was facing off against the Super Quick on his behalf, right? So
right.
Yeah, that's a fantastic match too, by the way.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And ZSJ, I'm a little sad because I feel like I have to recant. After those first 3 matches, I felt like he was on fire, unstoppable. I mean, the 3 guys he beat, first of all, and the way he beat them, and then to lose to Ishii was forgivable. Losing to Kenta was, oh, okay, I can see it. But to be tied with Kenta for the lead, oh, actually tied with Kenta and Shingo for the lead in points.
Well, if that's the case, then Kenta would be tops right now, right? Because
Right.
Kenta's Kenta's tiebreak over Zach, but Shingo I think has a tiebreak over, or did Kenta beat Shingo?
I don't remember, but then again, too, I just realized 2 of their. It's actually Zach has 12 points. They all have 10. They just got those 2 free points for the Naito because Naito forfeited.
Yeah.
So technically, Zach is still the leader, but I don't see him winning New Japan Cup with the way Jeff Cobb is going.
Well, in that block, it was the last time I saw. I think both he and Okada were both undefeated.
Yeah, they're both 14-0, or they both have 14 points.
Yeah.
But it's if he beats Okada, I just whoever wins that match is going to win the G1.
Well, he and Okada are 1-1 this year against each other.
Right, and they
So,
still
and they probably have the final match in the final night of B block, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it looks, you called it right from the start, but it's looking more and more like it's Jeff Cobb going to win.
Yeah. Well, I said it was either going to be Okada or Cobb was going to G1 this year.
And we've already seen Okada or Shingo versus Jeff Cobb too. Didn't Jeff Cobb lost the Open
At Wrestle Kingdom? Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I don't know. I as much as I wanted it to be ZSJ, I'm just not feeling it anymore after he lost to Kenta.
Well, I mean, even if he doesn't win the G1, he gets to win the block, though, right? So I mean, maybe the block final will, maybe the finals night will be Okada versus ZSJ or something in the finals.
Yeah, it's possible.
Or maybe it could be Cobb against ZSJ too, I suppose, right? I think it's more likely to be Okada in that spot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it is ZSJ that comes out, yeah, I could see Okada. If it's Kenta or Shingo, then I could see Cobb.
Isn't it interesting the slow transition from what Suzuki-gun was to what they are now? Like, if you think about it, like when they first came into the promotion, like it came back to the promotion, I should say, like 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago now.
Right.
They were like running rush at everybody. They were using every dirty tactic in the book. Everybody hated them. And they've like slowly transitioned to the point where I wouldn't say that they're baby faces at this point, but they're definitely, they have fan support behind them. The crowd, I'm not gonna say they're like Doki, right? but they do like El Desperado. They do like Zack Sabre Jr. They do like Taichi.
And Taichi, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they're really, and they don't use the same kind of dirty tactics that they did before. Not that they wrestle completely clean, but
no,
they do have the crowd support. They've got a grudging respect with LIJ, and the crowd does seem to enjoy their matches. Even so going so far as to cheer ZSJ at times over, established guys like Ibushi and Shingo. So
right,
and even Naito at times. So it's kind of amazing to me that we're in a spot that, as our appreciation for those guys has grown, right? So as the fans in Japan, to the point where they would take to do something really dastardly against to have the fans be completely against them.
Well, the thing about Japan is they're different than American fans. American fans, for the most part, American fans buy into the stories. They buy into
Right.
they buy into what they're being told. There's a few smart wrestling fans who appreciate the work and cheer for the work, which is why people like you and me will cheer for heels, because they're just fantastic workers. And the Japanese fans are more of the smart fans, so they catch on to, which is why LIJ started to make that transformation from just dastardly heels to fan favorites, what, about 4 or 5 years ago? And now you're seeing the same thing out of Suzuki-gun, where they're kind of making that transition. A lot of it also coincides with Iizuka leaving and KES leaving. And as much as I love KES, Lance Archer, when they were KES, was one of the bigger ones that was the douchebag fighting all over the place. And I think once Davey Boy left, and it was just was it David? No, David Smith, David Hart Smith. Once he left, and it became and Archer kind of went off on his own, the U.S. title and all that stuff, is kind of where we saw the change with Archer. And then with Iizuka leaving, I think that's what started their transition. Because even if you notice, after that, was it the G1 when Archer and Suzuki met, and Suzuki just beat the hell out of him? Or is that the New Japan Cup? I can't remember.
There's a G1.
It was a G1. It was kind of that moment where they changed their whole style. And now Suzuki, being in America, putting on just these ridiculous matches where he's not his normal fighting all over the arena. Archer is in the States putting on ridiculous matches where he's not fighting all over the arena. David Smith is now back in WWE, I saw. And Iizuka's retired. It's a completely different feel for the entire group.
Wait, David Boy Jr. is now back in WWE?
Yeah, he re-signed with WWE 3-4 months ago.
Why?
I don't know. I guess when MLW didn't renew his contract, he went to WWE.
Jeez. That's sad.
And did you watch MLW this week?
I did. I also wanted to say, I know you haven't seen the bracket yet because you haven't watched all of the Dynamite yet, but I'm very excited for two of the matches for the first round that will be next week on Dynamite. We're getting Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer.
Oh.
And Bryan Danielson versus Dustin Rhodes.
That's going to be an interesting match.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever remember them meeting each other in WWE. Is this their first meeting?
I don't know. I mean, we might have had a Goldust versus Daniel Bryan match, someplace, or maybe Team Hell No versus Stardust and Goldust. I don't remember.
Possibly. I guess I don't remember either. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting. It's kind of a clash of styles. But then again, that's all he's done. But I can't see Bryan getting beat up the way that he has in his last two matches, or in his match against Omega and his match against Suzuki with Dustin.
So I just Googled it. I just Googled Goldust versus Daniel Bryan, and I'm getting a bunch of matches where they tagged together, but nothing came up as showing them as competing with each other. So maybe they never have wrestled each other.
That would make sense, because by the time Daniel Bryan came back, he was a face, and so was Goldust when Goldust came back to the company. So that would make sense with them tagging together.
Right, and which combination of the Shield was it that were the tag team champions first? It was Reigns and Rollins, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So and remember we had that like Reigns and Rollins match against the Brotherhood.
Right.
And I think around that same time we had the full Shield against Bryan and the Brotherhood.
Yeah, because that was when the Shield was they were feuding with Hell No, Team Hell No.
I thought I remember that match happening though, because I thought that was how the
It's
transition
possible.
kind of went.
It's
Was
possible.
like when Team Team Hell No finished up and they weren't getting another because wasn't it the Brotherhood that won the tag titles from them or did they lose?
I don't think
No,
they won.
no, didn't they win because Big Show like punched one of the Shield, and then they won the titles. So like they lost it back to next night on Raw.
Possibly. I'm trying to remember them being tag team champions together though.
Okay,
I just don't remember it.
Cody and Dustin.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. So.
It was WWE. It was when we weren't really watching it.
Yeah, and it was like 5, 6 years ago. So
yeah, well, it's longer ago than that. It was probably
7 years ago, 8 years
ago. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, because you're right. It had to because the Shield split up like right after shortly after WrestleMania in 2014, right? So it had to be, or it was the night after whatever the next show was after WrestleMania next pay-per-view after WrestleMania was in 2014.
Yeah, because Dave Bautista came out and quit with that weird little wave thing that he did. When he quit the
parade wave,
yeah, and then after that it was when Rollins turned later that night.
Plan B, yeah,
right. But
not option C, but Plan B.
Plan B. So yeah, and speaking of option C, we're getting Josh Alexander versus
Christian Cage, right?
Versus Christian Cage for the for the Impact title, which is going to be a hell of a match.
All right, so I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you, but what was you were to talk about the Opera Cup, is that right?
No, I want to talk about Hammerstone.
Oh, okay.
I felt like he put on a hell of a performance, and he wasn't even in the ring. The way he stood up to Cesar Duran, or what's he called now? Is he called Cesar Duran in MLW?
Yeah, Cesar Duran. That's right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the way he stood up to him.
It's Cesar. Remember, Cesar.
Cesar. Okay. The fact that he vacated the North American Championship instead of staying a dual champion, and then of course, Richard Holiday. We finally got a Richard Holiday sighting, which was nice. Knowing that he'll be in that War Games match joining them, where somebody from Contra dove at Hammerstone, and I can't remember his name. I just know him as the judge. Caught him and then just beat the holy hell out of him. Hammerstone's just standing there going, "That was awesome, man."
It's I think it's EJ Aduka.
That's who it is. Yep, EJ Aduka. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, and that's kind of, and what the other thing I really like about that is if you watched because during when they go to like quote unquote commercial, right? They have like promos for their shows, and the promo they were showing for that only had those three guys on. So I thought it was great that they had that promo. They were like spoiling who else was going to join the team going forward.
Who do you think will?
What is it going to be 5-on-5 or 4-on-4? We don't know yet.
I heard 5-on-5, but I'm trying to think.
All right. So if it's 5-on-5, then I'm going to guess David Richards and Calvin Takeman.
Calvin Takeman looks like he's going to be joining American Top Team.
Well, he said he'll think about it.
Right, but
I think it's more. I think that's more to set up a match between him and Alex Kane than it is to actually join them.
That is one thing that kind of threw me off, is that we've already got a pretty high-profile American Top Team. So for these two calling themselves American Top Team is kind of distracting.
I don't think it's distracting. I would like there to be some kind of a crossover mentions on one of the two shows. But
right, because
I'm pretty sure. But I think the American Top Team thing was happening on MLW before it started happening on Dynamite. It's just that we weren't watching it. The coronavirus kind of stopped it. For a while, you know.
Well, wasn't he? And I can't think of the guy's name. But wasn't he part of American Top Team
Yeah, it's like
originally?
wasn't like Mo whatever
Yeah,
part of
King
American Top
Mo.
Team? King Mo, that's what it was.
Yeah, and he came from American Top Team, so that makes sense.
Right, exactly.
But I wish they'd do a little more crossover if that's the case.
Oh, I do too. I'm just saying that I didn't I thought it's kind of it's kind of not fair for distraction considering it's happening there first before it happened on, Dynamite.
Right. And
Um,
maybe they're taking advantage of the fact that American Top Team is pretty solid. And after
I would really like, and I'm sure, and I don't think they're also involved in another storyline, but I'd really like it to be Injustice as the other two partners in that feud, in that cage.
yeah,
I think they'd bring a nice, kind of a different style in there than the other three guys who are already on the team.
and Jordan Oliver is just nails. I don't, the guy can't miss right now.
I was thinking
So
about
I'd
that,
see
like I was thinking about them continuing to run in the 2300 arena, right? Because they're these, I don't know when these shows were taped, but they're not running very far from New Jersey. Philadelphia is not that far from New Jersey.
No.
There are fans, in that like in that kind of like tri-state area, right? That'll go to the New Jersey shows, the New York shows, and the Philadelphia shows. So I'm just kind of wonder, like, watching this, are we going to start hearing fans chant East Coast Ace on MLW programming,
or Big Breakfast,
or Young Dumb, and Broke,
right?
in any of that stuff, just because there's such a cross pollination. Like, Young Dumb and Broke, started in Jersey's Championship Wrestling, right? JCW.
Right.
And that's also where I think East Coast Ace stuff started. And that's maybe, I don't know, 100 miles from Philadelphia at most. So it's just interesting to be interesting to see if they have to kind of start acknowledging
I think that it's going to continue to the point where they are going to start acknowledging stuff like that, because it's just the crossover. It's like you've got 8 companies working together right now, and then one company that refuses to acknowledge there's other companies out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think that crossover is, you're starting to see more of it, like the crowd singing along to Suzuki's music, whether it's in GCW or in AEW or whatever. You're starting to see that kind of thing happening a lot more. I could definitely see people chanting East Coast Ace and stuff like that to him in other promotions.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear it. The question is whether they're going to acknowledge it. I think because I would be amazed if we don't start doing it, right? Because GCW has been so hot lately.
Right.
And every time Jordan Oliver comes to the ring and he's for East Coast for GCW, you hear the crowd chanting East Coast Ace.
Right.
And in the last couple of shows we've heard them also, like, during the middle of the match, to the Young Dumb and Broke sing along. So I'd be very surprised if we don't start hearing that from the crowd at the very least. And I do think it's kind of cool that GCW is kind of like where all this stuff is coming together, right? There's like the 8 promotions working together, but in GCW you see Impact and Ring of Honor and MLW and AEW guys all on the same show.
Right.
And even Big Japan guys on the same show as those guys.
Which guys? Sorry.
Big Japan. The Big Japan Deathmatch champion has been on the same show as some of these guys too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then they also have that working relationship with BLP,
and JCW.
And JCW, yeah.
And also H2O. So
it made me laugh quite a bit. I saw a tweet from Jordan Oliver yesterday where he was ragging on people that used to badmouth GCW, and now they're on what do you call them? I can't remember his exact wording, but it was like, now you're dick riding us when you used to trash us. And that's true. So many people have turned now because it's become popular and because they've got so many other wrestlers, other promotions working with them. All I know is I will say this: from the moment I saw GCW, I loved it.
Yeah, and I have never said a bad word about GCW. So
Right.
I looked at them. I was like, I looked at the stuff that Joey Janela was doing like for spring break a few years ago, and I bought one of those packages for like seven shows, and RPW was also taking part in it at the same time. And but I mean, why would you like? I mean, if you want to say like, well, the deathmatch stuff is dangerous, fine, but CCW was doing that way before GCW was, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
FMW was doing it back in the early '90s. Um,
Right.
to me, GCW, if you were an Extreme Championship Wrestling fan, from '95 to 2001 when they folded, GCW is the perfect organization for you. So it has the same kind of stuff. It's got the rowdy Broncos fans. It's got the same kind of language. It's got the same kind of and then it's got the hardcore spots and the deathmatch stuff that's a little bit beyond that. But to your point, the last week's like not extremely far beyond it, right?
No.
I didn't mean to make that pun, but I did, unfortunately. But the thing with ECW was it was not all violent. There was no rules, but that's where you first saw guys like Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and
Dean
Dean Malenko
and
Chris Benoit.
yeah.
That's where you
Rey
saw
Mysterio.
that's where you saw that incredible series of matches between Tajiri and Super Crazy.
And RVD and Jerry Lynn.
Right, and that's where the Dudleys started. We're talking about an organization back from the early '90s till they folded in 2001, where it was great technical wrestling, great tag team wrestling, great storytelling, but also with a hardcore element too. And that's what we're seeing right now at GCW as well.
Yeah, and you look at just the talent. I mean, of course, you've got the death matches and all that stuff, which I don't have a problem with it, to be honest. I mean, I love a good hardcore match, and to me, a death match is just a hardcore match with class instead of thumbtacks.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you look at the talent that's on that GCW roster, with Jordan Oliver and I can't remember his name, Alex Zane. And G-Raver and so many others that are just fantastic storytellers and in-ring performers. It's truly a company that is on the rise, and I could definitely see at some point getting a TV contract, a lot like ECW did in the late '90s.
I really enjoyed that death match between Alice Colon and Jimmy Lloyd on
that
the
was
main event of the Aftermath. And when we talk about the technical wrestling mixed with the hardcore, both of those guys are excellent technical wrestlers. They just do it in a hardcore deathmatch style. I mean, and when I watched Jimmy Lloyd, so guys, if you haven't watched this match, I don't think it's on YouTube yet. You may want to try to find it. But what they did for this is they had one side of the ring was barbed wire. The other side of the ring did a wall of light tubes. And then because they did that, they took off the middle rope. And there was a spot where Jimmy Lloyd did a running Finley roll through where the middle rope would normally be onto and into I think it was a door, like a double door setup. It was just a fantastic. It was just like an oh my god spot because he timed it so perfectly and it hit so well. It's just like wow, that was awesome.
That I remember that weekend too because you messaged me after Jordan Oliver did the Ace Crusher through the doors.
No. He did the cloud cutter.
Cloud cutter. You're right. Yep, cloud cutter. He did that through the doors, and I just Joey Styles. And then the next night, before I even got a chance to watch the match, you said, "I can't believe I just Joey Styles 2 more times for Jimmy Lloyd."
Yeah, well, one of them was when he did that dive through the light tubes, and then the other one was that rolling Finley roll spot. You know. So,
But yeah, that's great. They just have a great thing going. Yes, they're becoming more and more popular, as they should be. They've got some insane talent on that roster. Of the actual guys that are contracted with them, they've got insane talent. And then when you bring in Ring of Honor and Impact, and I think Matt Cardona is doing some of the best shit of his career right now with them.
right.
Effie is fantastic. They've just got such a great roster. And then having, the crossovers with AEW and NJPW and all that stuff. Nick Gage's entrance is just fantastic. I love the way the crowd just smothers him when he comes out of the back. I really, really love what GCW is doing. That's why they're probably right now my second favorite promotion behind AEW.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so frustrated that Dynamite is on Saturday next week, because we've got that big EGCW event coming as well.
Right.
Where we've got Nick Gage versus Minoru Suzuki in a death match, but there's also the Alex Zane versus Jonathan Gresham matches on that show, right?
Jesus.
So it's like, and then that's the same night as Bound for Glory as well. So it's like, what the hell do you watch?
Luckily we've got the Ring of Honor Honor Club, so we can watch that later. And we've talked about before, they're probably my fifth.
But Bound for Glory is on Honor Club.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's Impact, but those two, Impact, Ring of Honor, those two kind of take they're just above WWE in my watch priority. Someone actually asked me that on Twitter about, because Denise Solocito, I've been following her, and she had, people that she just asked questions about, what people's favorite promotions were. And,
Sure.
I ranked mine: AEW, GCW, NJPW, MLW. And then, give or take, kind of for my mood, is number 5 would be Impact and Ring of Honor. They kind of flip flop. And
Sure.
then WWE for me would be like 7th. And it's not.
Well, I mean, they are for you right now, but I think really if you had like more access to things like Black Label Pro, they'd probably be lower. They'd probably be even lower down the list. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But when I prioritize my watching, after I get through AEW, GCW, Japan, and MLW, those are my priorities. Right. Then, kind of my mood determines whether I go Impact or Ring of Honor. I have no time left over to watch WWE. And it's not that I don't like some of their wrestlers, not that I can't recognize that Roman Reigns is doing some fantastic stuff, and the babyface Brock Lesnar looks like a really cool idea, and of course AJ Styles. It's just I don't have time, once I get through the stuff that I really am following and really enjoying, to even a lot of times watch Ring of Honor and Impact, much less down to WWE.
Well, WWE would take years of consistently great storytelling all across the board, hearing from other people that this is happening, for me to ever turn them back on, other than the Royal.
So. Yeah, and I mean, we did just watch the Cena versus Reigns match not too long ago, and and I let that pay-per-view with that, and Edge versus Seth Rollins, where he did the whole Brood entrance. And then of course we watched the Seth versus, or not Seth, Randy Orton versus Edge trilogy. So I mean, we have watched some here and there, but it's not a priority to me.
I did not watch Randy Orton versus Edge trilogy. I just watched the WrestleMania match. Everybody that you and I
that everybody hated,
that you and I were part of the 1% of people that liked.
Made no sense to me. And that was the Cena Bray Wyatt match too, wasn't that this year?
No, that was
that last year?
There was 2 That was the same WrestleMania. So it was, yeah. So I mean, that was the funny thing about that, is that you and I loved that match. Everybody else loved the Undertaker versus AJ match that we didn't like. So.
Yeah. exactly. Yeah, we liked the two matches that were the best on the card, and everybody else hated those matches.
Right. But I think what really like, yeah, there was parts of SummerSlam that I did enjoy, absolutely. But then there was also like,
Dog
even
shit, like
though,
the
I was gonna say, even though like you thought it was at the time your match of the year, um, and I can clearly see like the appeal to it and what they did in it. I just still couldn't really even enjoy the Edge versus Seth Rollins match.
I
And to me, the way that Edge won that match, there to still be a continuing story and rematches doesn't make any sense because Edge just like completely dominated Rollins at the end of that match. It was like
right,
there was no question at the end of the match who was the better, right? So
right,
I mean,
exactly.
so I mean, why? What's the point of continuing the story? And then the Bianca, and then just to
The
completely
Bianca
flush
Belair thing
the
was
9 month Bianca
embarrassing.
Belair push just to bring Becky Lynch in sucked.
Yeah, that I hated.
Sucked.
I absolutely hated that. And I mean, that was that weekend we were talking about, great moments and how CM Punk was a huge moment and, all these great moments that were going on. And you felt like that Brood thing was a forced moment. And that's fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was like I marked out as soon as I heard the Brood music and saw him come up through the stage and then do the Brood walk down a little ways. I really enjoyed that.
No, I enjoyed that part of it too. It was when they transitioned from that
The rated R stuff.
to the rated R stuff. I did.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, he should have stuck in character in the Brood character all the way to the ring. He never should have, transitioned to the rated R.
Yeah, because you go
halfway
dun
through.
dun 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 dun. You think you know me? It's like what? What the fuck?
Yeah,
So that's what I mean.
yeah,
I didn't. So
yeah. I get
that's
that.
all. But
I definitely
yeah,
get that.
but I mean, my list is very similar to yours. Like, I mean, and a lot of it is because I don't feel like NJPW has for the last
2 years.
let's say ever since Wrestle Kingdom last year. Yeah, so almost a full 2 years. I don't
Yeah,
feel like NJPW has put together a one cohesively great show. Whereas
no,
I think
I
GC,
agree.
whereas I think GCW just the last we started following 3 months ago, and they put together at least three of those. So I mean,
No,
it's
it wasn't it before that. Wasn't it WrestleMania weekend we started following them?
we watched no,
No, you're right. It was the All Out. It was All Out weekend.
yeah, so it was like
So
around
yeah, about
July
3
we started
months.
following release. Really, so I mean, really, to me, I mean, that show in Los Angeles where Funches was on, I thought was consistently a great show.
Yep.
I thought
Everything.
both the War Games and the Three Cup stuff were consistently great shows.
Yeah, Art of War Games is great.
And then
This
and I
last
thought
one,
and,
Fight
and then I
Club, was
thought
great.
Fight Club was great all the way through, and most of actually and although I thought it was just like maybe like a little step below it, I thought the Aftermath was a really good show too. So I mean,
Right.
I don't feel that way when I watch the GPW show. Even when I watch a G1 show, I feel like there's moments on it, and honestly, and this is maybe just overexposure to them, but I also just feel like there's times where I'm watching. Well, actually, I should say most of the time. Most of the time now, when I watch a Tanahashi or Okada match, I'm rolling my eyes and just like feel like I have to get through it rather than really enjoying the matches.
Right. And that we never would have said that about Okada 3 years ago.
No, or Tanahashi,
Okada,
So.
well, I felt that way about Tanahashi for the last
Okay.
few years. Because I just felt like he kept getting pushes where pushes weren't deserved, and he'd be injured and losing every match, and then next thing you know, he's world champion. It was frustrating to me.
The funny thing is that I feel like Tanahashi wrestles like Ric Flair, 20 years after Ric Flair was relevant.
True, very true. I think what's really hurting, like NJPW Strong, is a very great show. Like I love what they're doing at NJPW Strong, but when you think about it, that's where all my favorite guys are now.
Lay down, Sven.
Osprey, Jay White, they're on NJPW Strong. So I'm really enjoying Strong, where the main card, even though I love people like Evil and Okada and ZSJ, they're not, the shows themselves aren't as strong. Like I'm not having a problem jumping in and watching one match and then leaving the card, where I can't imagine doing that for GCW or AEW.
Right, exactly.
I mean, AEW is consistently solid every week, every program, Wednesday night, Friday night, and then their pay-per-views. Every show is strong, really, really strong. And GCW, the last 6 shows I've seen from them are all 5, are up there as far as, pay-per-views of the year. They've all been great. Start to finish, they've been great. And then, of course, NJPW Strong is kind of a must-watch, but, Osprey and White are there. So that's kind of why they're the must-watches for me. And then, MLW has been solid since they've come back. Since Battle Riot, they've been solid. They haven't been great, but they've been solid.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of. Yeah, a second. I have not really watched any of the JPW Strong since Osprey went over there. I probably should try to watch some of this, but
it's some good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, and when you say MLW's been solid, I would agree with that assessment. But I do think they do some things really well. Like I think that they're like Tankman versus what the hell is it? What the hell is the guy's name? What's his name, Jeff? The Tiger Mask.
I can't remember.
Okay. Well, anyway,
oh, Lee Moriarty.
Lee Moriarty. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been great in everything I've seen him in. But I mean, like him versus Tankman was a really good match, right? And
yeah,
and the women's match they had on there was a pretty good match. And then Davey versus Tom, was a pretty good match. I mean, it's like, and they seem like they're doing. It seems like they're really timing things out well, and they're doing similar to. It's similar to Dynamite or Rampage in the sense that they're getting a lot of things in the time that they have to get it in.
right.
And they're really building the blocks towards these towards what they're doing. Like they'll do the Cesar Duran stuff to set up for next week, and they'll do like the little beatdown segments to set up for down the road as well. At the same time, I think giving each match pretty much exactly the time it needs to be successful. So I do think that I think solid and not spectacular is a great assessment. I do also enjoy what they're doing quite a bit.
Right, and that's why I say they're solid. Where when I watch Impact and I watch Ring of Honor, they're becoming a lot like NJPW proper is, where it's like I can pick a match and be okay with it. I don't feel like I have to sit and watch the entire show. I'm okay with just watching Josh Alexander and Ace Austin.
For Impact, my problem with them is mostly the crowd. Like I think they really need to get out of the Impact zone and be a touring show. Now, whether that can be profitable for them or not, probably not. But they're also owned by billion-dollar companies. So what difference does that make? I mean, they can probably afford to, even if they went back to what they were doing 2 years ago, when they would film in Samstown for a month, and they would film in Mexico for a month, and they would film in Orlando for a month. But I mean, just staying in one location all the time, it feels so. Not only does it feel so third rate, but also it just like you've always got the same crowd there all the time. They're always doing the same stupid chants that just irritate the shit out of me. I mean, I just really would want them to, for me to pay more attention to them. They're going to have to get out of that location, and not just what they can do.
It's funny because that actually, that same thing that worked really, really well for NXT when they were an hour-long show is not working for Impact.
No,
because that's what made NXT feel so special, was they're putting on quality matches, and and all that stuff. But and let's not even talk about NXT 2.0. They're not even on my radar anymore. They would be probably ninth behind WWE. Since they became 2.0, actually, since they went to the USA Network, is when I started to lose my my love for them. And then they, really went downhill when UE broke up, and I don't know. I mean, they've had a few one-offs, but since they became 2.0, they're just not even on my radar anymore.
No. Yeah, so that university that they used to run at, that the thing was that, and maybe it's part of the production values too, right? But or maybe it's just like 40 years of experience. But WWE's production team was able to make that building look like an arena, like right. Whereas you can clearly tell the Impact Zone is in a dungy auditorium,
Right.
and it just does not feel the same. And they've got the same crowd there all the time, and it feels like I'm watching, I guess, in a sense, a private party, right? Because it's always the same people there doing the same shit, and it's just, I feel like they need to get out of that place. And remember 2 years ago when we were enjoying them so much, when every month they would do an Impact Plus special, and they'd be cooperating with a local promotion and putting on these matches that we hadn't seen before, and how much we were enjoying them at that time. That's what they need to get back to doing. And I know we're in the COVID era, and there's different like mask restrictions and shit like that, but they still need to get back to doing something like that.
Yeah, they need to get back to. I think my favorite one was that, I can't remember who it was we saw, but that New York promotion, when there was that one tag team that we were like, and it was right after Private Party left, so we didn't get to see Private Party. We just saw this tag team, and I can't remember who they were.
It was, wasn't it when they were running House of Glory? Isn't that what it was?
What was that?
Wasn't it House of Glory?
Yeah, it was House
Amazing
of Glory.
Amazing Reds promotion, right? Yeah, House of Glory.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I remember the tag you're talking about. I still remember.
And it was right after Private Party signed with AEW, so we got to see these guys, and these guys just blew me away.
Right.
I wish I could remember their names because they were fantastic. But I know once COVID hit, a lot of those smaller promotions kind of closed their doors, or didn't close their doors, but they're not booking anything, and they're probably having trouble getting things back up and running now. Some of the bigger promotions, I can see how they work. Bigger indies like GCW, BLP, and things like that, I can see how they're up and running again. But maybe some of these smaller ones, like Amazing Reds promotion, might have kind of gone by the wayside.
But I can't imagine that House of Glory is any smaller than like Jersey City Wrestling. I mean, granted, I think Jersey City Wrestling is getting some support from GCW because GCW is kind of uses them as a feeding ground too, right? But I mean, I don't know that, maybe that is the difference. That House of there isn't like really a strong like New York based promotion that could try to pull them up that way too. But
right.
But all I'm saying is that I think they were an exciting promotion when they were doing that, and now that they're stagnant in the same location, they're just a tough watch for me.
And it's not just that, their storylines are nonsensical. Like, why would Sammy ever, or why would Eddie Edwards ever team with Sammy? Period. I mean, that should, because of their history, that should never happen, ever.
Because Tommy Dreamer asked him to.
Still, Tommy Dreamer, we already know what happened to him. I mean, no, it never should have happened.
Oh, that's
never
right. That's right. That's right. He probably is not screen anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But I'm just saying that is the nonsensical storylines. Like, I don't understand why Ace Austin, who was always great by himself, needs to have Madman Fulton. The storyline, like Eddie Edwards, if a guy tried to take my eyeball out with a baseball bat, I would never tag with him. Never.
I think they also just get their own way too. Just like when they're making some of these matches, like for instance, right? So they've got like you mentioned, Josh Alexander, used option C, right. And he is therefore no longer the X Division champion, so they're having a tournament to crown a new champion.
Right.
And and on looking at the Bound for Glory card, now if I told you that the finals of that tournament were going to be Trey Miguel versus El Phantasmo, you'd be you'd be orgasming, right? But go ahead.
I forgot ELP was with them. I guess I haven't seen him on there in quite a while.
Yeah, so he's in the finals. He's in the final match of the X Division Championship. And if I told you it was Trey Miguel versus El Phantasmo, you'd be excited. I mean, that'd be a great match
Right.
you'd want to see. But
Right.
but is it that match? No,
course
because it's a triple threat, and they've had to put Black Taurus in there as well. You know, so I mean that's what I mean. And like sometimes, like most of the time on these pay-per-views or their Impact specials, they don't have a one-on-one match for the tag titles. It's it's a three-way match or a four-way match, or that's what I mean is they just get in their own way sometimes, where they just can't have a storyline lead to a logical one-on-one type situation.
The other thing that really frustrated me is you had another one of those matches where I'd be like, oh my God, I got to watch this. And Ace Austin has a title shot in his back pocket. And he never once against Kenny Omega. Did he even challenge Christian for it yet?
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
He
so
lost.
he did. Okay, but he did actually pull out his title card. Okay.
Yeah, that happened at Victory Road. And then, I mean, then also like looking here, you've got a call your shot gauntlet match with 20 people in it, including W. Morrissey and Moose and Eddie Edwards, where, I mean, they never did finish it. But I mean, why are you putting W. Morrissey in that kind of a spot? Where he was, they killed him. They apparently have killed the Moose versus Chris Sabin feud. It's just like they don't have these storylines that lead to logical conclusions, like ever.
No, and I think that's where the inconsistent storytelling is, where I kind of put them a little bit below. With Ring of Honor, it's the talent level that has me kind of keeping them down there too, in that 5 and 6 spot. I think they've got some great talent. I love the foundation, and I like Rhett Titus better in a group than by himself. I think Jonathan Gresham is one of the most underrated wrestlers on the planet because he's not a household name. He should be a household name with as good as he is. And then I love the match that he had against Josh Woods. Nice to see Josh Woods. If he was going to lose to anybody, I'm glad it was Josh Woods.
You liked that match?
I liked it. I didn't like the ending.
I liked the last 5 minutes of it, but I hated all the stupid, the referee has to take control, so he's gonna take the rope breaks away bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, doing it one time would have been fine. Doing it 3 times was just and really it was completely against Jonathan Gresham's character. I did not like it at all.
And it was against Josh Woods' character too, because Josh Woods, prided himself on never losing rope breaks.
Right.
I think he only lost like 6 rope breaks in his entire Pure Division career. Yeah, I thought that was a little bit overdone, but I'm just saying that if Gresham had to lose the title, Josh Woods was the guy to lose it to.
Yeah, I just wish he'd actually lost in a real Pure Rules match and not that bullshit that they
fair
these
enough.
guys
That's fair enough.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, the best thing going in Ring of Honor has been, and probably will be for the foreseeable future is Shane Taylor Promotions.
And EC3.
No, Shane Taylor Promotions.
I think EC3 has been pretty solid too. And I think the foundation is pretty decent. I'm kind of confused with the whole Flip back to, because I thought he couldn't be Flip anymore because of his neck issues.
No idea.
Which is why he became the mercenary. But
I think their talent deployment has really gone downhill since Bully Ray left the promotion. Like this whole thing about like um, El, what do they call themselves now? Like the England Envoy stable, like having
Oh,
like
let's
like
watch
like
your own day.
losing and winning back all their titles. It's stupid. It's
Right.
stupid. Like you don't need to have. And why the continued over push of Dragon? I don't understand. And I mean I those two guys being tag team champions, fine. But why does Dragon Lee have to hold the TV title like ad nauseum, like forever? You know,
I think
I
Dragon Lee, for me, hit the highlight or the highlight of his career was his match against Hiromu.
yeah,
That
and and
that payback match because broke Hiromu's neck, and then they had that slap. Like I've never seen a chop fest like that went on as long as it did, and I was invested in the whole thing. Uh,
yeah,
After that, I don't know that I've seen a great Dragon Lee match.
right. And then I think as much as I enjoyed Bandito's match, I think they did a nice job of making Bandito look strong in that Fatal 4-Way match. But at the same time, like I just don't buy him as world champion.
As champion, yeah, I feel the same way.
And I feel like they rushed him to that spot. So their talent deployment has been so bad lately, to my opinion.
Right. I agree 100%. And and
And
then
now it looks like they're probably going to lose Roosh. They're never going to pay out that storyline.
well, he's still injured, isn't he?
He's injured, but his contract's going to expire while he's injured.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, they're kind of a mess. So I mean, that's why it all depends on what the card looks like as to which one of those two I'm going to watch. And then of course WWE is another one where I can just walk in and watch one match and not give a shit about the rest of the card. Like I have
Sure.
some interest in, granted the storyline makes no sense, but I do have some interest in the Hell in a Cell match that's coming up here between Seth and Edge
That was 2 nights ago.
at Crown Jewel. That was Friday.
That was on that was with that SmackDown Overrun.
Oh, I thought it was happening at Crown Jewel.
Nope, that was
Oh.
that was the Super SmackDown match. So.
Well, I guess I've got about 6 months before I can watch that. Because it doesn't show up on Peacock for like a month and a half after it airs.
Since it was on FS1, I doubt it's going to be on Hulu too.
Yeah, it's not on Hulu. So
yeah,
I was actually looking forward to that match.
So I'm with you. Like right now, for me, it's AEW number 1, GCW number 2, and not a very distant number 2. And then MLW is probably number 3 for me, just because I think they're doing things. Because I mean, I'm not one of those guys. I don't prefer to like pick and choose matches I want to watch, right? So MLW to me is a promotion where I can just kind of sit back and I can watch the whole thing. Whereas I can't really do that with DPW.
And with the reason why I put them ahead of MLW is because of Strong. I think Strong has been a solid show every single week. And then the NJPW, and that's where I pick and choose matches. But I've been watching Strong pretty much every week and enjoying it.
Gotcha. All right. So I think that's all we've got for this week, guys. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, this is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
goodbye.